gut feelings. You know those moments when you feel like, I don't know how to say it. I don't know how to say this, but I think that I'm not sure about the decision. I think that this is not going to work. Or you feel like, I cannot put my finger onto this. I don't know how to describe this, but this is definitely going to work. I'm going to nail this. This is a great idea for my business. When you start describing things based on gut feelings, or when you have that sensation, even if you're not talking to yourself like I always do, there's always a root cause, an internal compass that leads you to be believing that way or thinking that way. For most people, it's something that happens in your subconscious. What we are going to talk today is about allowing you to be aware of those internal compass so that you can make the decision and improve the way you make decision as leaders. Today we are back on another special Christmas edition to help you plan your business like a pro. We had the first session where we shared 10 amazing gifts, 10 amazing ideas for you and for your teams. We have another one when we focus more specifically on the team. We will recap in a little bit, and so that if you've missed those two, we can tell you exactly where to go. Welcome to the Mary Poppins of Business live show. I'm Makangu. I'm the founder of Athena Leaders, an organization that is passionate about helping people, teams, turn their dreams, their ideas into reality, whilst leaving behind the legacy of a happy and productive workplace playground. For those who have been following us for a while, you know what's coming next. Well, our 3 rules. 1, we love interacting with you. If you have a question, please put it in the chat, even watching in replay, no problem. Hashtag Athena Leaders, we will find you. Number 2, if you know any amazing person out there, a startup founder or anyone working in the startup ecosystem that would like to come on board and share their story and their ideas, their wisdom with us, please let them know to reach out. Our calendar for the first quarter of next year is packed and you don't want to miss out. Rule number 3, help us to grow this community and this channel. Please subscribe, like, and share. More importantly, though, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. What we're going to look at today? Well, although this is a Christmas special episode, this is something that we like to encourage leaders to do, especially when they start planning for a next phase. It could be the following year or the next semester or whatever it is. The first step would be to go back to the episode we had, I think about 2 episodes ago, and look at some of the ideas that we shared with you, right? So we looked at focusing on for urgent tasks. We look at retrospective, short-term goals. We look at organizational debts and how to bring the team on the journey and more importantly, empower middle managers, give them the tools to support the planning process, which is something that many organizations do not do. And if you're thinking, what is she on about? Well, go back and watch the previous episode. The one just before that was even more special. A lot of people worried about team not being motivated when it comes to the end of the year or close to a holiday. Well, motivation doesn't just happen on the spot. It happens way before. So we've shared with you how you can keep the team motivated, how the big Christmas dinner, the big Christmas meal is amazing. But if it's the only thing that you have, you might want to look at how to do things for smaller teams as well. Now that we've kind of refreshed your memories and you're actually thinking, it's quite a lot of nice things to go, but what does she have in store for us? Let's start looking at our first question of the day. How to understand your internal compass so that you can start explaining those gut feelings and what does it mean? Last week, and actually over the last couple of weeks, I've been working a lot with business founders and leaders. I was running mentorings and advising sessions for startup founders and for another established marketing digital agency business leader. For both cases, they wanted one to figure out where to go and kind of how to assess the experiment that she's been doing for her startups and where to move to next. And the other one, whether to pivot or start new ideas to grow her business or even diversify. What was interesting, what I saw in both cases, I kid you not, they don't know each other. But one thing that was the same was they both had ideas. They both knew roughly why this couldn't work or not. But there was something deep inside them that made them feel like, I don't really want to start with this idea. I could pick it straight away, but obviously because of my experience as a mentor and a coach, I knew exactly some aspect of their values that they were not aware of. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's not a it's not a new tool. It's a tool that's always existed. By being aware of your values as a leader will really help you make the right decisions. Most of the time, the values are things that happens way deeper inside of us. They are the things that help you make normal decisions on a day-to-day basis, but even more important ones. For example, when we did the value work with one of my clients, we found out that for her, freedom was really important. And based on that value, we realized that any business or any business ideas that she was about to start up that doesn't allow her freedom or a traveling lifestyle where she can just pack up and go will always be met with a sense of gut feeling. I don't think this is for me. She loved the idea of what she wanted to pivot on, but she didn't know why she always had those feelings. Once we surfaced this idea of values and understood that freedom was important to her, she was tempted to just disregard the ideas altogether. Oh no, I'm not going to be able to have the same freedom. But we turned it around. So our crafting experiment stage, when we started digging deeper and really looking at where she wanted to pivot to and the amazing new business idea that she had, we turned it around and focused on a different question. How do we solve the problem and the challenge that you want to solve for your clients, bring the values that you want to bring for them, whilst at the same time making sure that we are hitting on freedom? There's so many different ways that you can grow and build the business. An idea that could have been discarded completely, we are now re-looking at it, looking from a different angle and different perspective. So this is just a simple example of how values are important. Values are important in every single aspect of our lives. If you like stability and you're about to take on a job where for example, in a company, on a consultancy companies, where you are required to apply for a new role every 6 months, how will that affect how you feel? Based on that value, you will always have a gut feeling of, I don't think this role is for me. So it's really important that as a business leader, when you're thinking of the time before now and the next year or the next cycle you're working on, can you spend some time understanding your internal compass, understanding your values, go even deeper, understanding the past links that you have that could stop you from taking advantage of the next opportunity. For example, imagine back in the days where you maybe tried a lot of experiments for your startups or for your organization and they didn't go right. Now that you have a great ideas, you know that you need to go out, experiment, market research. You sometimes feel weighed down because of the weight of the negative things that didn't work in the past. So spending the time to really learn how to deal with those to set you free will help you to move forward as a business leader. There's way more we can talk about that: personality types, motivation, your learning styles. But there's way more that you can see that we don't see. It all happens in our subconscious level. And when I run talks on women in leadership or anybody leadership, in fact, I do spend sometimes talking about that model so that people can really understand how we subconsciously make decisions, discover our internal compass so that we can change it. What about you? Have you ever had those moments where, without being able to verbalize, you kind of knew that something is wrong here and something is this is not something that I would like to go to? Please share it with us, #Athena Leaders, and we would love to hear from you. Let's look at the second question. How do you create a plan that makes your business more resilient in the short term and long term? For this one, it's also very interesting to go back to previous episodes. I talked a lot, if you look at my YouTube channel, I talked a lot about organizational debt, and our Christmas special edition talks a lot about planning. If you want your organization to be resilient, avoid the temptation of rushing with new initiatives without peppering all over the cracks. In fact, I would say go deeper. You've already been peppering all over the cracks over the last few weeks or months. There are so many decisions that we take these days that are based on moving forward, especially as an organization. You sometimes need to keep on moving regardless of what happens. But if you don't go back and look at all of the shortcuts that you took on your way to where you are today, imagine your company is growing. We see that a lot with startups. There is not enough budget to focus on the development of the people. Now that the company is exploding, you have more investors. How can you go backwards and start making sure that every single member in your team are supported? You have the right leadership and management in the company so that you can move forward. The same happens with business. How do you make sure that your company has the people with the right mindsets, and how you can help them have the right mindsets to move towards resiliency? How do you make sure that you have the tools to help you to plan, to have a vision, a board, a roadmap of where you are now, what you are currently working on, and where you want to move on tomorrow as well? So this is really important to kind of think a little bit about the short-term goals and the long-term goals, to mix them together, but by first assessing your organization as a whole before you move forward. Now, this leads us to the nice question number 3, and this is the one that a lot of people who have been following me, and especially have really think about this idea of, okay, when I want to plan for the resiliency of my future, what can I do today so that I set up my organization as a workplace playground? That's an interesting question. And this is something that I'm also very passionate about, and I really try to help people to grow a stronger and more resilient organization. When we look at the workplace playground, we kind of, or when I talk about the workplace playground, I kind of like sharing these models, as you can see on the screen. And for those who cannot see, well, let me read them out to you. First, start by working on trust. You want to help your team, your people develop the trust as a foundation of an organization. Without trust, you can bring in direction, you can bring in a lot more fun, you can bring in free food. If people don't trust together, they will not be able to work well together. From trust, you then start thinking a little bit more about the culture of the organization. How do we reflect our culture? From the outside, what do people think about us? But from the inside, what do our people think our culture is? And that is very important. There are moments and situations where you say things like, especially the manager, bringing solutions, no problems. Great. But does it mean that when people find out about problems, they are hiding them for you? There are moments where someone might behave in a way that goes against your value. Maybe they've made a deal that's a little bit unethical. They brought a lot of money in the organization. They get rewarded for that. That goes against your culture, right? So what is the message that you are sending to other people? So culture is another really strong foundation of how you can improve your organization. So if you think about the resiliency of your business as a whole, when we are moving away from things like just the market and the customers and really looking internally, then think about your culture and what are the things that you need to do as a business leader, as a startup founder, to be able to improve your culture. We then look at the vision and direction, and I always mention that. Most companies that really struggle to kind of get things done usually do not have a clear vision and direction. How do you make sure that your vision is clear? Not just at the leadership level, but at every level within the organizations. What I see often is that middle managers get lost when it comes to vision and direction. They might get something from the managers, but they don't have the tools to really help their team with that. So the workplace playground platform, whenever I work with my clients on that and try to understand how to fix their businesses or how to help them be resilient in the future, we kind of spend a bit more time on that. The next one is working together, and that's another one that I absolutely love. What if we had our needs written all over us? Imagine if you can walk in the room and people know that you're a detailed person, and people know that you are someone who likes summaries. People know that if you're having a bad day and you wanted a cup of coffee, please give me the coffee and walk away. And other people will say, give me the coffee and stay and have a chat. All of the small things you might say become even more important when we start looking at dealing with conflict and we start looking at working under pressure. If you understand people when things are flowing really well and you get on really well, then it's easier to deal with positive conflict. Otherwise, it becomes much more difficult. Actually, today I was running a workshop on understanding yourself and understanding your team using this as a tool. And we spend a lot of time to really hone in on what it means to work to understand other people's behavior. Make sure that you don't give people a blank check. Oh, yes, he will behave that way. He tends to shout at his team. That's the way he is. That's not why we work together. Working together really means how do we get the teams to improve the communication and the collaboration. And some of the things that helps teams to work better together is by having the right processes as well. Yes, not gonna go right away from that. Processes, some may say are boring, depending on where you fall, but they are very, very important. For your organization to scale, you need to have the right defined processes that people can use so that when they are moving forward, they know that even when we are working remotely, we're using a hybrid methodology or whatever you are in your organization, people know what is expected of them and how they are going to work and what the processes are. Without processes and good communication, your workplace won't feel like a playground. We then talk about people growth, which is another part of the model. People growth is really about developing your team, helping them get to the next level. Whenever you ask, you run a survey, even an engagement survey for your people, one of the things that always come up strongly is when people are empowered to work, but are also empowered to go to the next level. How do you make sure that people have the challenges to kind of push them a little bit based on their own personality style, based on their aspirations, based on their desires? How do you make sure that people learn from each other? A lot of the time when we talk about training, people have this idea of bring an external trainer in, but there are so many knowledge sharing that can happen in an organization if you set it up the right way. And of course, leadership. Leadership is something that happens at all levels of the organization. How do you make sure that your managers have the leadership skills they need to lead strongly? And when we get to the top of the pyramid for the workplace playground, what do we have? Play and fun. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, whenever we talk about workplace playground, a lot of people assume that Nine is going to come in and tell us about having fun. And then when I start talking about direction and processes, she's like, oh, well, do you know what? You can have as much fun as you want in your organization, free food, football table, and all of that. If you don't have the right foundation, starting from trust, all the way to vision, direction, culture, people growth, communication, well, the planned fun will be things that people enjoy, but they won't make them stay with you. They won't want to continue the journey to help you grow your organizations. I've seen surveys online and feedback on organization on websites such as Glassdoor, where an organization was given a score of 1, I think it's out of 5, only got 1, and the 1 was the appreciation of the free food. And when it matters, the reason why they didn't really like the organization was based on every single thing I've mentioned in the workplace playground. So if you're wondering, what can I do as I'm starting to plan for next year? Do you have items in your short-term and long-term goals that hits aspects of the workplace playground? Are you thinking about the overview and the overview goal of the entire organization, or are your eyes just focused on the customers or focused on the next deals without kind of thinking about the other aspects? What do you think? I would love to kind of get your feedback and understand a bit more what you're thinking about when you're talking about the workplace playground, and also everything that we've shared in these episodes today. If you have any question and want to find out more, do please find me online. I have some tools and some questionnaires that I can share, especially with your middle managers, that can help them build a workplace playground within the team so that you get that feeling within the wider organization, you end up with a larger workplace playground. And again, as a very quick summary, please do spend the time to look and find your own internal compass so that when you start making decisions next year or the next semester or the next planning sessions, you know why you feel this way and you can make better conscious decisions as a leader, as a startup founder, rather than when those are unconscious. And number two, planning and building the resiliency of your company starts today by looking at organizational debt, looking at things that wasn't really fixed in the past, looking at short-term and long-term goals, and to find out how we can, what will be part of our short-term or long-term goals. Please use the Workplace Playground framework to identify those issues. In the meantime, let's design a happy and productive workplace playground together.